What up, peeps? It's your girl, Dr. coming back to you from Real Takes. Well, you guys, I'm back again with another review or recap of The Swamp Thing. This is episode 3, titled He Speaks. And let me tell you, I am very happy to say the third episode is just continuing the storylines. Is getting even better, learning a little bit more about other characters throughout the actual series. I'm loving the casting, like I said, from the previous episodes, and I love that it's not going to always just be centered around the Swamp Thing. We're going to get a little bit of storyline and arc of all the other characters throughout this whole entire season, and that's what makes it even more exciting, because there's only so much you're going to do with Swamp Thing, so you have to have other things to fall back. So with that said, let's just go ahead and jump into it. Now, the opening scene is really interesting. At first I thought we were truly having a flashback, and it has to do with, Alec, and you see him kind of walking through the woods, of course, and just looking around, whichever. And of course you see the character of Munson, the one that's the creepy guy who was basically, threatening Susie within that little barn or whatever in the woods until he had his fatality given to him sweetly. It shows him, talking to him, and he's like, hey, what you doing out here, whatever. And it's just in that moment where you can clearly tell from the way this vision setup is, it turns into what can be considered a nightmare of sorts. And you see it where all of a sudden Masoom's like, you killed me, grabs him by his neck, whatever, and all. He's like, I'm sorry, whatever, and all. He's like, I'm going to come back and get you, whatever. And that's when, of course, Swamp Thing, of course, awakens. And he's basically standing over the body of Munson, kind of leans down at him. And of course he yells out a big scream, whichever, and it kind of eventually walks away. Now from there you see the scene where it looks like something is starting to transpire. Once he walks away from the, the decapitated body, you see all the little insects and critters start to kind of, come full force for, his overall corpse, and from that moment you kind of see like a twitching of his hand or whatever. And it was really interesting because I'm wondering what is happening there. And of course it shoots because it goes straight into the introduction, to start the beginning of the episode, the intro. And from there, this is going to be a kind of a lengthy recap. I'm going to discuss all the different parts of it because that was really good and there was a lot going on, and I love that. So if I look down a couple times, checking my notes to kind of keep me on course with this actual recap. So the next scene is, of course, Lizzie and Abby having a discussion first thing in the morning. She's out there, Abby drinking her coffee, and Liz comes out and she just tells her, how things went. Of course she knows that Susie Coyle was, actually, found safe, whichever. Her and Matt, brought her back, to the hospital so she could be taken care of, whichever. Needless to say, she tells her how Susie lets her know that there was some sort of being, whatever, and stated how this particular human, whatever creature-like thing, told her his name was Alec. So when she hears that, Liz kind of just looks at her like, what? She's like, yeah, she's just like mind blown, literally mind blown. And Liz straight out asked her, did you tell anyone else? She says, I don't think I should tell anyone this. Honestly, I agree. Do not tell anyone this, because let's just be real. They would think she was crazy. Secondly, it's a possibility somebody might want to believe her and go searching, and you don't want to do that until she truly knows what's going on. What is this thing that's out there, in those areas at night near the swamp. So it just kind of shows her, letting her know some things are going on. She has to get to her job, whatever. She's kind of letting her yeah, this is what we're dealing with now, whatever. And Liz is just kind of like, okay. So from there you see the scene where she's going to actual hospital, and it sees how looks like somebody, her supervisor or whatever, decides to show up. He's coming all the way from Atlanta. His name is Dr. Eli, and he just makes it, known that they want to start some sort of new drug regimen, because clearly, instead of speaking with her to understand what's going on, whatever, to see if whatever he wants to do that supports the new regimen won't interact or will, combat whatever she feels that might be working, or it's not working progressively fast enough for them to feel like, it's doing what it needs to do, being that they're working, with the hospital, CDC, whichever. And you can clearly tell he's a jerk. His arrogance a little bit was killing me. He's not here to negotiate, whatever. He's here. They want to do something different. He's not really caring what she wants, whatever. Then she finds out from the other doctor who's working with her that, of course, Jason Woodrue is here. So he's downstairs looking over the body that was Eddie Coyle and doing like an autopsy. He's so fascinated with it. He wants to know this. And of course, Abby comes down there, whichever. But she finds out prior to that he's on the payroll of Avery. So all of a sudden, certain things are starting to go through her mind with this agenda. Like, what's really going on here? Why are you here? If you all know, the last episode, Jason and his wife Caroline were confronted by Avery about the situation, like, oh yeah, this accelerant is working, but it's working that it's starting to cause situations with some of the people of the town, whatever, people are getting sick, and he's like, you better fix it, otherwise we will all go down with the situation, not him. So that's why he's kind of trying to see, okay, this body they brought back, this man, why does it look the way it is? And he's kind of talking about the mutant genetics, the mutation of it all, whatever. It's something really exciting. He doesn't know if it's in some ways accelerating, you know, the accelerant that he was using, whatever. Is it something else he's missing? So he's very intrigued to figure it out. Of course, he's trying to critique, you know, certain aspects of the body, making Abby answer these questions as if he's her damn teacher, you know, just, again, a little arrogance because he feels he knows a lot, knows a lot more, whatever, so he wants to kind of flex. So from there, you see also from that scene where they're kind of just talking about stuff, and he's like, you know, what do you see when you look at his body? I see a man, you know, who was a father who was given a bad hand, dealt with the situation and all that, and now he's dead. And of course Jason doesn't want to see that situation. He sees it like, I'm looking at something that's a prime example of something that can be a greater use to the community or whatever, instead of just seeing him as a human side. He doesn't even want to think of it that way, you know. So, and that's just kind of how he is. You can clearly tell he's about dealing with a specimen, dealing with whatever he could figure out, whatever to can hone his skills and him learn something new, anything that can help, you know, in that aspect, whichever. She can borderline on both, you know, she's there definitely to learn, but also to help the people, whichever. So you can clearly tell in that doctor aspect, they are totally different, whichever. So needless to say, you know, like I said, he's another one that's just kind of self-absorbed, whichever. So from there you kind of see, the scene where it looks like Liz is working on a case, and from there she comes across a gentleman by the name of Gordon. He works at some sort of bank or whatever, dealing in certain loans. This is when we start to learn a bit more about Avery. Come to find out that she is wondering why he's ignoring her. He's not trying to be helpful to her. Come to find out, she makes, you know, a comment about him doing certain loan transactions off the books for Avery. And she's like, you know, you avoided me. It's like you're hurting my feelings, whatever, you know, that I can help you. We could, you know, expose this. You know, I don't want you. I want Avery. He's like, I'll keep your name out of the article, whatever, but, you know, you avoiding me, it's just not looking good, whatever. And of course, Gordon's kind of, you know, frustrated, whichever, you know, she keeps hovering around. So, but yeah, I like that. Again, like I said, more layers, because I already figured from the first episode Avery was none too good, but we'll get into that at the end. So, but from there, you guys, so then we move from that, and it shows a scene, of course, after the situation that happened in the last episode, where of course Matt went to help Abby find Susie doing certain things. Of course, his mother, Sheriff Lucilla, definitely has to have a little talking to him, because she's mad because he didn't follow proper protocol. He was supposed to have backup, and he didn't do that. Now, in the end, you know, it did work out. They were able to get Susie safe, but needless to say, other things come up in this conversation where they talk about Alec, and she makes the comment, I have to say exactly what she says, you know, how she thinks that the whole situation that happened with Alec was considered a stupid bad luck, you know. Really? No, it wasn't stupid bad luck. I feel like, honestly, somebody was following him or watching him, and once Avery realized that he was still in town, he probably had somebody scoping him out a little bit, and that's when that person showed up to do whatever deed Avery gave to him. So needless to say, from that, you know, she makes a comment. She says, I'm going to go visit Avery shortly and find out what's going on, or whichever. If we can't find anything, then we're going to consider this case closed and consider it to be considered just an accident. Definitely not an accident, as you all know. So, but from there, you know, Matt makes a comment saying if it wasn't for Susie and we had the information we had, whatever and all that, this might have not had somewhat of a good outcome, whichever. And you can clearly tell that torch flame, whatever you want to call it, is stipening. It's like the flames are throwing. That brother has it bad for her. So, but moving from that, now there's a scene where, of course, Abby's checking over Susie really quickly, whichever. And she says, you know, I see her vitals hasn't changed, whichever, talking to the nurse. And she says, well, you know, Harlan, you know, which is played by Leonard Nam, he was, you know, overseeing her, watching her throughout the night. So then the following morning, when she's, you know, overlooking her vitals, checking her stuff, she goes to visit her colleague, and she just sees that his body's turned to the wall, and he's kind of just looking. You're thinking he might be sleeping, whatever. She turns around, looks like he is now caught, you know, the disease. He probably did not wear a mask, whatever, just to protect himself, because Susie is not out of the woods. And let's just say that they have a cold blue, you know, nurses, everybody came in, the doctors, of course, at first Abby is not covering her face, and they had to get on her, Dr. Eli, cover your, put a mask on, and she's giving him directions. She's like, I got this. So yeah, you can see kind of a little bit of a little, you know, pull, you know, in and who's running things in this situation, whichever. So she's freaking out. She runs to go see Liz, asking, I need to use your boat. Liz girlfriend Margot's there, so they make sure it's got gas. She's like, I gotta get to Alex lab. I gotta find this information because we gotta figure out what's going on. We gotta get to the bottom of this. So from there you see Abby, of course, go on the boat. She's starting to drive off. Liz gives Margot a little bit of kind of instruction. When you get a chance, if you go out later that day with the boat or whatever, she says go out and check to see if you can find any extra debris of Alex's boat. She's like, if you can do this for me, whichever. And she's like, I got you. So I'm loving that. Love this. The investigative reporter thing is just right on there with Liz. So I love that she's always thinking ahead, and that's a good thing like that. So from there you see this random scene where it's like a hunter in the woods talking to his girlfriend when she's like, you need to hurry, come on, whatever, I'm not gonna wait all day, whatever. And he's like trying to find some type of wildlife, whatever, in the woods. And eventually he starts to hear some noise of crackling, so he goes and he finds what looks like to be some animal had been eaten up or whatever. And you see all the creatures and insects in him. He eventually turns around. You see the scene, I'm gonna post up, where it shows him turning, and it looks like Monson has finally been his corpse has been put together by said creatures, these insects. So he starts to, all of them, like the flies start coming out and they go right into the guy's eyes, mouth. It was just a gross scene, just disgusting, so he's not gonna make it home to his girl now. So needless to say, that lets you know when he says, I'm gonna come back to get you in this epic. And then I think I'm going to get into my details. Let me just keep my full rant at the end about this. I'm just going to just do the quick little recap with you guys with that. So from there you see the scene where it looks like, of course, Jason's home, at, wherever they're staying at in town of Marseille, and they're having this discussion, about what he'd seen. And she's explaining to him, well, you might have saw this. It could be certain genetics, some sort of mutation, with, the DNA, whatever, with whatever is, in the water, the accelerant, whatever. And she's kind of giving her thoughts, and he agrees with her. And she's in the midst of making a drink, whatever. And she's drinking something, whatever. And she makes a comment saying, honey, have you seen my pills? And that's kind of when you see a totally different side to Jason, where he has to get up and he's just like, honey, the reason you see is because you already took your pills. And he shows her, because it looked like it's like a weekly pill, box, whatever, with pills for each day, whatever. And that's when you kind of realize there's a lot going on behind the scenes with him. His wife, I want to feel like she's having the first signs, episodes of what could be considered dementia. She's losing, her train of thought of certain things she's done, whichever. Her memory is starting to show episodes elapse, whichever, and she's getting afraid, and she makes a sad statement saying, what I'm afraid to get. He's like, I would do whatever I have because I know it's secure out there, whatever, I can't lose you. I would do whatever I need to do not to lose you. She does make a statement, and she says, I'm afraid I'm going to forget you. And it was just so heartbreaking, whichever. And he kisses her on her forehead. It's just so sad. I just feel bad for him about that, whichever. But I like that you get a little bit of dynamic, because when he was in his type of work hat capacity, no feelings whatsoever, didn't care about the body he's looking at, that it left a daughter, nothing. But when it comes to his wife, you can clearly tell, he definitely has a soft spot. He loves her, whichever, and he's going to do whatever he needs to do, whichever, to make sure she's around. She will remember him, remember love, remember any memories they have together, period, so to speak. So I just wanted to kind of harp on that, which I thought was a little nice, deflect away from the usual guy who's just, he could care less about anything, whatever. So from there you see the scene of Avery and Maria just kind of like having dinner, and they're talking, and he's just talking to her about her overall behavior, now that Abby's back and she's working on this, whatever, and I want you to get back to how you were. And she's like, maybe, that, honestly, was me faking. I've been faking for 14 years, about, my feelings about how this stuff has happened, whatever. Not even utilizing Abby's instance, meaning she was just kind of going with it, whatever, to kind of numb herself from the situation of losing her daughter, Shauna. And that was kind of sad, like that, whichever, like he's not really, grasping the fact, her being the mother aspect, you give birth to the baby, she just feels this way because you have that connection, and this part that's been, kind of ripped from you, whatever. And like I say, parent, that's one of the worst fears, to be the one, you live longer than your child is gone, whatever, and you're still here, just all those type of thoughts. And I think that's probably all the things that culminated with how she's been feeling, laying in the bed, having these visions, feeling her daughter's presence closer, and now what you saw in the last episode. So it shows her going into the bathroom, and you see the scene where she looks into the mirror and she sees her daughter, and it's like it causes the glass to break. And her daughter has this conversation where she's just like, do you really think Dad loves you? Do you really think he cares about you? Or he's just keeping you around for other things? And I'll harp on that later on at the end, with my overall thoughts about certain things about that, because that was interesting. Of all the things and the things that her daughter is saying to her, she's seeing her, her overall, vision or whatever, just being totally harsh. And she's like, don't talk about your daddy like that, whatever. And eventually she's just like, stop, whatever. That was really good, because it kind of puts in perspective what her daughter is saying. Is what her daughter is saying true? And in some ways, yes, it is. Like I said, we'll get into that later, you guys. So from there, you see the scene of Avery, of course, showing up, in the midst of this. This part actually did happen before the actual bathroom scene. My apologies. Needless to say, Gordon shows up and he's like, he's getting heat, of course, from Liz, whatever. He's like, what are you worried about? He's like, you're getting a kickback for doing all this stuff, whatever. Him, giving this money for funding. All the while, Maria can hear basically what's happening. So he's like, I'm funding your stuff, of course, his swamp, little thing that he's trying to do with the swamp. He's using this money. And he's like, what would happen if they find out, I've been giving you, this money up under the table, whatever, and all that for your personal reasons, whatever. I could, lose his job and he can go to jail, whatever. And he's like, well, man up, do what you need to do, whatever, to make that not happen. Gordon just puts his foot down. He says, I'm stopping. I'm done. He says, you have 24 hours to give me the money back, whatever, and all that. And of course, he just walks out. And let's just say that you can tell Avery didn't take too kindly to that, because he shows up unannounced, and him to just, all of a sudden be the one just putting in forth, the orders of how things are going to go from here on out. So yeah, a lot to discuss about Avery. Avery is a nice little factor into this. So needless to say, from there you see Abby eventually makes it to the lab. She's kind of going through, looking up under the bed, checking stuff, whatever. And she finds what looks like some sort of research, lab book that, Alec had put some stuff in, some notes, whatever. Unbeknownst to Abby, all these little critters or creatures start showing up slowly, creeping through the sides of the walls, up on the top, coming through, whatever. And all. There are not so many, but just enough that you can see that more and more are going to start slowly showing up. So from there, you see the scene where Sheriff Lucilla shows up over at the house, the Southern house, whichever, and they're kind of talking about some stuff. And let me tell you, this scene was very interesting. You clearly know there's a past there. Avery, of course, with the little smirk, the smile, whatever, and they're talking, she's writing notes, asking him, I really didn't know Alec that much, whatever, and all that. Of course, after he fired him, whatever, I just asked him to do a little bit of work for me, and this and that and other. And of course, from there, she's like, he was, of course, an outsider and things of that nature. And then just hearing some of the things he's saying about, other things happening, in the town. She makes a comment saying, we've had so many, issues with people getting sick and dying in 5 days that we've had in 5 years. He's kind of looking at her because he knows there's a lot more to it, of course, with what's happening anyway. And then from there, they kind of discuss the situations with Abby coming back to town, Maria, whatever, and everything like that. And then, of course, he starts to kind of flirt a little bit. And I love what she says, and I had to note what she says. She says, I always look good to you when Maria is cutting you off. That was not a comment I expected her to say. So to let you know that a lot more is going on between those two. I don't know if we'll get flashbacks. That would be very interesting if that is the case. And needless to say, he's like, yeah, she's been sleeping. Maria's been sleeping in our daughter's, bedroom, whatever, and all that. And she just kind of, chuckles a little bit about that, whatever. And then they start, kind of getting a little too close, where she's standing up against the wall, and he starts coming closer. She's like, I know you. And he's like, I know you too. I know you very well. I miss you. And he tries to kiss her. All of a sudden you hear some little footsteps above, whatever, and she was like, what is that? Is she here? She's like, no, she's just resting. And she's just like, no, because they would have kissed at that ruckus. That means that obviously Maria was awake and she knew somebody was down there. So of course they play it off, and he kind of walks away. She walks away, excuse me, and he says, so is that all the information you need? She said, that will do for now. So eventually she gets in her Jeep and she drives off, and you see Maria in the window looking at her drive away, knowing that she knows full well the disrespect or whatever he's been doing. There's a lot more going on there than meets the eye. She's probably might have known that for a long time, whichever. So it's just, oh my goodness, I'm going to definitely get into Avery. He's something else. So needless to say, Abby, of course, it goes back to her, picking up some stuff, looking through some stuff, and she starts hearing a disturbance, some noise, happening above. Then from there, you see the scene where she kind of starts to hear a little bit more noise, and all of a sudden she turns around, and that's when Mon's son comes breaking through the glass, whatever, and he tries to come towards her. That's when she picks up a flare and starts to use it to tell him to back the hell up, whatever. By then, you see the scene of Swamp Thing coming from up under, the actual, I want to say, you can call it, the house, whatever. I'm just gonna say that. I lost my train of thought. And he's kind of like, leave her alone, whatever. And of course, Masan tries to kind of come to him, whichever, but then he kind of walks around him, and he eventually kind of goes down to the ground a little bit, and you'll see, because I'll probably post a scene, and it shows him, kind of putting his arm up to kind of keep him at bay, and he's kind of looking at him. And this is the scene I really like, because it kind of puts in perspective how this all came to be. It shows a scene of him having that vision again, where he's like, you killed me, whichever, and all that, and he's going to get him, whatever. And he starts to see the vision of that again, and that's when he kind of realizes that this whole situation came of the situation of him being angry, the evil of him, whatever those critters or insects, that culminated to put him back together to make him some sort of a puppet for him to go out and do what he was doing, an evil deed. Like, he took the hunter guy in the woods, and he was about to try to kill Abby. And by that time, you hear Swamp Thing say, leave him. And all of a sudden, the critters start to come out of his body, and he starts to kind of fall down. Abby's just looking, just literally in shock. The body falls down, and all of a sudden, it just disperses, like it deteriorates, whatever, like into some sort of goo, whichever. And this is the scene I can say I really, really enjoyed once they're finally together, because you get to hear him speak. I've been waiting. And then it shows her say, Susie Coyle said that you told her your name was Alec Holland. You see him turn, look at her, those piercing red eyes, and he kind of walks to her, and she kind of hesitantly walks back. She doesn't run far away, but she just kind of hesitantly walks. And then he does something that is just just breaks my heart. He takes his hand, he puts it behind her, her hair, behind her, kind of her, nape of her neck, and he pulls out something what could be considered a little glass, similar to previously in the scene of them when they were talking, where they were having like a little drink, and they were kind of like talking to each other. And that's when he kind of looks at it. He looks at me and he says, Abby, oh my God, it broke my heart. And she just kind of like, almost at a moment where she kind of like, holding back the tears. And she's just like, what happened? What happened? Do you remember, you were out there in the swamp, whatever, after the explosion. That was you I saw. She's like, do you remember anything that happened? He kind of has a vision of him being in the water, turn over, whatever. And he's like, what is this? What is happening to? Who am I? And she's like, you're a good man. You're a scientist. You are doing good things, whichever. She's like, I don't understand, what's happening with the swamp, why is it, fighting us? And that's when he makes a comment to, which was a good comment, because it got her to thinking. He's like, it's not, fighting you, it's fighting back. And that's kind of when you see the scene where she leaves on the boat and to get back to the hospital to realize she has a way that might be able to trigger this part of disease, so she went to see her friend Harlan, and from there she has a certain thing where she decides to use like some sort of 2 syringes with 2 different serums, whatever. Dr. Eli comes there like, she's losing her mind, whatever, gets security, whatever. Come to find out, it does work. His temperature goes down, whichever. She comes over, whatever, his vitals are, are resting, they're, normal. And then that's, of course, when he wakes up and they have this little moment where she's like, do you know who I am? Do you know where you are? Whatever. He makes his little comment to her. And that's when she lets Dr. Eli and him know that you need to do this for all the other patients. And he's just like, go ahead and just do it. So that was a really wonderful scene. Love that's worked, whatever. So it's like, like I said, he should have listened to her, find a way to work with it. It's like, you just want to come in here and flex your muscle, whatever. And whatever he was doing clearly wasn't working, because they were getting worse. So I just really love that scene. So from there, you see the scene where it shows, Abby visiting Susie. Still looking at my notes, my bad. And she's just checking up on her, and she's like, I see you went to see, you went to see him. And I love, because I have to remind myself they had a little bit of a connection now, like a little bit of a link. And she's like, he's just so afraid of what's happened to her. She's like, I want to help him, so, I can help the person that, that I got to know and care for, whichever. And it's just like, oh my God. It's like, you could tell they were building that bond, and you could tell she has, some feelings for her. He definitely has feelings for her. So it's going to be interesting to see, how that all turns out. But she was like, go get some rest, whatever. No, we'll talk in the morning. And she just, eventually Susie tells her, thank you for helping us, whichever. And of course, Abby does leave, whatever. And Susie's kind of sitting there, kind of looking out, and, looking out, whichever. So that was a nice scene. Then you see the scene of Avery and Maria, where Avery decides to confront her, saying, I need some help. I need some, help with some money. Come to find out, her family comes from some money. So again, I have a lot to discuss with this recap. Now, he wants her to fund some more stuff for this little swamp, thing he's trying to do, whatever. She's like, you know what? She's like, no. She's like, I know that's not a word you're familiar with, but I've helped you enough with this, whatever you're trying to do with the swamp, whatever. No, you're not gonna waste our life savings. So she's like, no more. He's like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? Whatever. And she walks out and leaves him standing right there in Shauna's room with the note she just gave him, no more money. So from there, you see the scene of Abby and Matt. She's at Delroy. She just wants to drink. She just wants to chill. It's been a long, eventful day. And Matt, of course, shows up. They both, get a drink from Delroy, and they're just kind of talking, and he, is just telling her, all these good things, words traveling fast already, that she had a breakthrough at the hospital to find a way to help the people who were sick. And he's just talking about how you've done so many good things, whichever you left, you got out of Marseille, you did this, you became a doctor, whatever. And he's just, adding on, compliments, just adding. Then a song comes on to the jukebox, and he's like, you remember the song? And she's like, you all need to update this, this jukebox. He's like, no, I asked Delroy to do me a favor. And she's like, that was a song that was playing during prom. So he's like, I'm not going to miss my chance. So he decides to ask her to dance. She's hesitant because she doesn't like to dance, but she gets up and they, of course, dance to the song. And she's just kind of seeing it. Here's a scene that's so sad too. You see out in the outskirts of Delroy's, over in the shadows, this swamp thing, and he sees her dancing with Matt. And you could tell it just breaks his heart, because all of a sudden he's looking at her and he kind of puts his head down and he starts to walk away. By that time, her body turns enough that she kind of sees something out there, and she sees that the swamp thing has started to walk away. And you could tell she's sad. Matt's like, are you okay? She's like, I'm good, I'm good. But she just feels, because the connection, the bond they have, whatever. So it's just like, oh my God, it just feels so bad. In this whole situation, something that could have happened between the two before this freak accident happened. So, and then from there, you see the scene where it showcases Danny, aka Blue Devil. He's on his way home. He has some beers. He comes in there, and of course, Madame Zanandu is sitting, creepy inside of his home in the dark. And she comes there to visit. She's like, I haven't seen you in a while, whatever. He, of course, wants her to read some tarot cards of sorts, whichever. He's like, every time you've done them, they've never changed. It's always the same thing. I'm trying to get out of Marseille. I'm trying to do other things. So she's like, let's see. So she takes him out. They're, doing their little thing. And then from there, you see the scene of him, like it's just the same thing. And she's like, wait, there's a new card, whatever. He says, she says, it looks like something's on the horizon. Something's going to change. Have you come into contact with anybody new? He's like, yeah. He says, could it be this person? This woman, this woman, who? Abby? And she, of course, she's like, oh, Abby. Interesting there. So, and then from there, you see the scene of Margot, Liz's girlfriend. She's out there, of course, in the swamp. She's kind of pulling some stuff out of the water. She finds a nice little big chunk of the boat, and it looks like it's got some gun holes in it, So she makes a quick call to Liz, and she lets her know. She's like, I found, a little piece of debris, from Alex's boat. It looks like it's got some gunshots. So yes, love that. More stuff that's coming out. Investigative reporters found out some stuff. Love it. So the last and final scene is this one. It's the scene where it shows Gordon coming home, and of course he hears a little noise, and of course he takes out one of his, golf clubs, and he's like, who's there, whatever. And of course it's Avery hiding in the shadows, and he's like, I don't appreciate you showing up in my house unannounced, talking about you're not going to help me. She's like, you're going to go back to work, you're going to do this. He's like, no, I'm not going to do such thing. It's over. We're not doing anything. So of course he tells him, he's like, what? He's, threatening him. All the while they're walking up the stairwell, whatever. And of course, you would think that Gordon has something in his hand. You could hit him. So all of a sudden, I don't know why you felt like you had a kahunas before. Then all of a sudden, you're too afraid to do anything. So of course, he, keeps threatening Gordon. Gordon's like, maybe I should, tell the authorities. Maybe I should talk to, to the newspaper, whatever, and let them know what's going on. I wonder how they take to kindly to knowing that somebody, is up in debt, wazoo, and got no money, whatever, And that's when you can clearly see that he gets an upper hand on Gordon, whatever, and all. And he kind of knocks him down. He throws him into the bathtub, whichever, and he kind of wakes up like, what's going on, whatever. And he's just like, he just makes some little shy comment to him, and before you know, when Gordon tries to reach for him to help him, which I don't know why he thought that was going to happen, he takes the golf club and he starts bashing him, hitting him. And you can clearly see he hit him in his head, because he goes over to the sink, and he starts to rinse it off. He's looking at it, you can see some of the hair on it, whatever, so he has to get all the evidence off of it. He rinses off, and all of a sudden you hear a knock at the door, an aggressive knock, so to speak. He comes down slowly, and he peeps, and she's like, I can see your car out there, Gordon, I know you're home. And she keeps babbing, and that's when he looks through the people and sees that it is Liz. So from there, you kind of see her, and she's like, he won't answer the door. And she's just like, oh, she's frustrated. She walks away, and of course, it shows Avery kind of looking, kind of like in the distance, like, okay, you dealt with one situation. It looks like you might have to deal with another, and that's kind of how it goes off. So you know what, you guys, this was a great episode. Like I said, I love when we're getting other layers to the other characters within the series, whatever. I want to see other storylines. Like I said, Swamp Thing can only do so much throughout the whole season. If he's, beating up the bad guys, doing certain things, because he's going to definitely be in these areas. He's not going to always be open on land, amongst, dealing with anybody unless it's Abby and maybe Susie, depending on it, whatever. So if people come into his area, that's when we'll see most of the scenes with him. So I love that we get to see what's happening with other people, throughout, the town of Marseille. My whole thing is this particular episode, I feel like it was all kind of culminating around Avery and how he plays a part in a lot of these different things that are going on. And Avery, like I said from the first episode, something about him was just vibing with me, and clearly I was right. This brother is bad from the head to toe, to the bone. The way you've treated your wife, the way you've only been really using your wife to get money, because you really don't show really any affection to her. He tries to do just enough to make it seem like he cares and he's concerned. He does not. Then to find out that you're getting money off the books, getting personal loans to help the stuff, whatever, all unbeknownst to these people except Gordon, and definitely Liz had an idea. I'd like to know how she came to know this idea about that. How would she even know that he's doing stuff under the cut, through this loan officer or whatever. But it is what it is. It just adds on to her actual story. That's very interesting to me. Secondly, to find out that he has been possibly with Sheriff Lucilla, which I think more than possibly they're about to kiss. It lets me know, like she said, she's like, when Maria isn't doing anything, she looks good to him when Maria isn't giving him what he wants, and clearly that is the case. I'm gonna tell you like this: we have not seen or know this information yet, but it makes me wonder now. Who's Matt's father? I really like to know who is Matt's father, because they haven't harped on any of his, personal life yet. That's his mother. That's it. Where's Daddy? Is Daddy not in the picture? Is Daddy moved on or whatever? That's what I want to know, because I wonder if they were together a long time ago before Maria, and then they were kind of seeing each other under the low when when he just wants to get away from Maria or whatever. So basically, you got with Maria because she has money. You see what Shauna said. Shauna made the comment, she's like, do you think Dad still loves you? Do you think Dad cares about you, whatever, and all? Or he's just keep, dealing with you for other reasons, other needs. Clearly he is, because the first thing out of his mouth is, I need more money, whatever, some more money for the fun. You tell me my family's money. Once she put it out there like that, it's like, wow. She's gone along with it, it seems like, all this time, but now she's like, no more. So, yeah, it just gives you more layers. And now that we know he's a killer, he has it in him to do it, so, yeah. But then again, I don't think he's the one that shot Alec. I want to know if it's one of his henchmen. I'm not sure, but I'm curious about that now. But we know he has it in him to do it, so I wouldn't be surprised if it is him, because from a distance, it looked like a very tall man. Will Patton's character is not that tall, so I'm not sure who that could possibly be, but you never know. If he's not been following him, he knew Alec was coming on some information that could help them figure out what's going on with the swamp, while people are getting sick, him not really caring, but he's caring enough that he doesn't want to get in trouble and get caught. Now he cares enough, but he doesn't care in the way he should truly care about. So just extra layers. Will Patton's playing that damn character out the park. I give him kudos to that. Avery is the scum. So I can give that. Now, like I said, with Maria, that whole situation with her daughter and that scene in the bathroom was really creepy, really good, very effective. Kind of threw some statements out there, for her mom to really really understand what's really going on. You hear him talking to Gordon about some money. She knows what's up. She doesn't really say anything, but now she looks like she's getting some extra kahunas now. She's speaking her mind. She's not holding back. She's feeling this extra, resurgence of sorts. She's, she can see her vision of her daughters now. She can hear her daughter. She's feeling, that, no, I'm not going to let you keep walking over me doing what you're doing, clearly doing stuff, right, literally almost in front of her, so to speak. You're about to, kiss a woman inside the house you share with your wife. He's just disgusting. Also with Abby, I love that, she was able to figure out something, with the help of the Swamp Thing. I'm going to tell you, the scenes between the two are going to just have my heart tugged. That scene when she finally, not to say confront him, but just ask him straight out, are you Alec? And she knows he's Alec. That scene when he touched her hair and pulled that glass, whatever, and it brings back that old flashback, was just, oh my gosh. I just feel for Alec, just everything he's going through. And it's like, what is she going to be able to do to even bring, she's not going to be able to bring him back in human form. You remember you saw in episode 2, you guys, from my recap, and I showed the video when he ripped side of his head off, his, like, there's nothing but greenery it's no human form left. He can never be himself ever again. So that's just a sad part, because she wants to help him, but there's no way she can truly help him to be human ever again. So it's just going to be interesting, as the season continues on, how they're going to get into that and discuss it. He's going to have to try and just make peace with that. She's going to help him just to slowly find a way to embrace what he really is now and how he can do good with it. So, but yes, that was good. The parts with Danny and also Madam, very interesting. Why he thinks that Abby's coming to his life and she's supposed to be the one. So all of a sudden we got all these different men and creatures. You got Matt, the Swamp Thing now. All of a sudden Danny's thinking she might be the one that's going to turn his life around. I'm like, oh God, she's truly the focal point right now. So, same thing with Matt. Definitely has a, just loves him some Abby, clearly. He would love it to turn out to be more, whichever, Yeah, that would be interesting, if that ends up, happening, whatever. But her pining for who she would really want to be with, that's not going to make for good, a good situation there, whatever. When you feel like it's just you two and he doesn't know that it's really a third person there that's kind of, really has her real attention like he should have. And it's just not, not realizing it's not what you think. It's not another guy. He ain't a guy anymore. It's the Swamp Thing. So yeah, that's going to be very, very interesting. But yes, and also with Liz, I'm loving how we're seeing them bring her girlfriend into the forefront, whatever, and all, being an investigative reporter, so she can definitely have other layers into adding to other parts of the story that are throughout the season, which is nice. It's like she's dealing with this Avery issue. She's helping Abby's situation with Alec and how that stuff happened with his boat exploding, all that. So I love that she has a little part. Her girlfriend kind of helping a little bit, finding that debris, whichever. I'm just like, yeah, this whole entire episode was really, really good. The part with Monson and Swamp Thing, where, he has ways of dealing with the swamp, the creatures, this way of supernatural, powers that he was able to tell it to leave him, and they just dispersed from the body, and the body just turned down into some sort of liquid, some sort of fluid of sorts, whatever, goo, whatever you want to call it. So, but yes, this whole episode was really well. I'm loving every episode. Has been doing very well, keeping me fully engaged, and I'm just loving what I'm seeing. I'm excited to see episode 4. So you guys, if any of you all watch it, comment below, let me know what you all think. And with that said, I will see you guys on the next recap. You guys take care.